Welcome to Carbon Focus, the headlines this quarter. New year, new strategy. We take a look at BAM's new and ambitious sustainability strategy. Locking away carbon. I've been speaking to Dr. Ian Mugford to learn more about how biochar could be the next big thing in carbon sequestration. The truth about HVO. We revisit developments concerning the use of this low carbon fuel. And built in, not bolt on. We take a look at how the Waterford Public Infrastructure Project is putting sustainability and low carbon at the forefront of its design.
And later, I'll bring you the latest carbon forecast.
Direct carbon emissions across the UK and Ireland division for the full year 2022 have reached a record low, standing at 44,000 tonnes, which is 12% lower than 2021 and 28% lower than 2015 levels. This result is all the more impressive considering the business has continued to grow over time and means our carbon intensity per £1 million turnover is now a whopping 49% lower than 2015 levels, which means we are very close to achieving our science-based target. These reductions have been realised through a combination of carbon-reducing measures. Compared to 2015, we've seen 19% of all fuel use switch to HVO, reduced diesel generator use through switching to grid power connections and using hybrid remote power generation, transitioned over 25% of our company car fleet to electric and hybrid, benefited from continued improvements in combustion engine efficiency and improvements in construction process efficiency through the deployment of digital modelling and modularised construction. Stay tuned for more on our 2022 performance and a look ahead to 2023. In January 2023, BAM published its most comprehensive and ambitious sustainability strategy to date. This new strategy comprises of 6 themes, including decarbonisation, circularity, climate adaptation, biodiversity, safety, health and inclusion, and social value. Within each theme, there are several targets with milestones set for 2023, 2026 and 2030. The most mature of these are the decarbonisation targets published in February 2022 and include reducing direct emissions intensity by 80% by 2026 compared to 2015 levels, reducing absolute Scope 3 emissions by 50% by 2030 compared to 2019 levels, achieving net zero carbon for direct emissions by 2026 within the UK and Ireland division, and maintaining our A-list status within the Climate Disclosure Project. The strategy has also been developed in a way that aligns to the UN Sustainable Development Goals and will be delivered through 2 sustainability enabling services, one focusing on environmental sustainability and the other on social sustainability. While these teams will be fundamental to shaping BAM UK and Ireland's approach to sustainability, everybody has a role to play in ensuring the success of the strategy. Please reach out to your local sustainability advisors or visit sustainability pages on Connect for more information. As part of any net zero carbon or carbon neutral programme, there is nearly always a need to use carbon offsets. Choosing the right carbon offsetting scheme is critically important to ensure that carbon emissions are actually being reduced, or better still, removed entirely through sequestration projects such as tree planting or direct air capture. Recently, I spoke to Dr. Ian Mugford from RSK Terrafix to explain how they are developing a robust and scalable carbon sequestration solution.
So I am Dr. Ian Mugford, Technical Director of Terrafix, and here we have the UK's first continuous carbonisation system. So we are taking raw biomass produced at source from devegetation works, and we're sequestering carbon in real time. So within 100 seconds, we are taking a woody material and we're sequestering carbon on millennial timescales. So we are a fully relocatable, deployable system, which is deployable at the point of waste or resource creation. So at the moment, our system is taking a cubic meter of wood chip. We're taking that up into our carbonisation system. Within the system, that material reaches about 750 degrees C. That produces a syngas, or pyrolysis stroke carbonisation gas, and that rises up through the system and it carbonizes the incoming material. What that means is the system is fully autothermal, so once it's started, it needs no energy to keep the process going. The biochar material comes out in our last container, and that has a high carbon content, say around 80%. And that material, as I said, sequesters carbon for around, on millennial timescales. So that means you can trade that carbon removal, the amount of CO2 you're sequestering. So for every ton of biochar you produce, you would sequester around 3.6 tons of CO2e. That's if it was 100% carbon. But this is coming out about 80% carbon, so we sequester about 80% of that. What you're also left with is a physical material that could be deployed to land, has lots of soil benefits, such as cation exchange capacity, water holding capacity, but it can also go into civils and things to offset the use of fly ash and things in concrete and construction materials. So our deployable, relocatable system has multiple benefits. So it can be deployed on site where the resource or the waste is created. So you've got carbon savings in terms of vehicle movements and off-site transport, landfill costs, gate fee costs, etc., etc. So any questions, you can contact myself, which is ianmugford@rsk.co.uk.
The whole life sustainability credentials of the biofuel HVO has been a hotly debated topic throughout 2022. On the one hand, the fuel offers a massive reduction in Scope 1 emissions, is cleaner burning and is not ecotoxic. But on the other, it is unclear whether the sourcing of feedstocks used to make the fuel are indirectly contributing to deforestation and adverse land use change. Through the course of 2022, BAM undertook further research to understand the challenges surrounding the HVO supply chain. The key findings of this research found that HVO is an inherently non-ecotoxic substance, virtually eliminating toxic environmental and human health effects when working with it, making it a far safer alternative to diesel. Whilst the direct Scope 1 emissions are over 90% lower than diesel, biogenic emissions from its final combustion should be disclosed and can appear to reduce the positive effect of HVO. However, these are not considered to be a net contributor to global emissions under the Greenhouse Gas Reporting Protocol. Indirect land use change remains to be an unmeasured and unsubstantiated issue, although it is recognised that more research is required to definitively answer this question. In the case of HVO, it is generally accepted that if it is genuinely sourced from used cooking oil, as is the case with BAM suppliers, then the indirect land use change risk is significantly reduced. Other alternatives to using diesel, such as hydrogen and electric, are currently limited to smaller equipment or remote power generation and are not yet available at scale on our construction sites. This is mostly because of the lack of availability of hydrogen and the ability to get a sufficiently sized grid electricity connection. Legislation within the EU and UK are among the most stringent in the world when it comes to feedstock assurances for biofuels. Both jurisdictions recognise that biofuels will play an important but limited role in decarbonising their economies, and their use is actually incentivised through the EU's RED II directive. Our research was published in December 2022 in a position paper and reaffirms our commitment to using HVO as a transitionary step towards eliminating fossil fuels from our operations. To read BAM's full position paper, please follow the link in the video description. It's recognised that to have the greatest impact on reducing carbon emissions and realising improved sustainability outcomes more generally, they need to be considered at the earliest possible stages within the design and pre-construction phases of a project. The Waterford Public Infrastructure Scheme in Ireland is a great example of how BAM is helping to deliver the project in a way which makes sustainability and decarbonisation front and centre in the decision-making process. Here's Christy Hannon to tell us more.
Hi, I'm Christy Hannon and I'm here to tell you a little bit about one of BAM's latest projects in Ireland called the Waterford City Public Infrastructure Project. I'm currently standing on the south bank of the river shore, and behind me in the background you can see our team are busy setting up our site facilities for the project. Once complete, the project will deliver a sustainable and integrated traffic solution for the city's residents, businesses and visitors alike. One of the key features of the project is a 200 metre long sustainable transport bridge over the river that will prioritise pedestrians and cyclists over electrically powered public transport with no private vehicle access allowed. The bridge itself has been designed and will be constructed using low carbon materials. Through collaboration with our client, Waterford City and County Council, and our principal representative Ronan O'Donovan Consultant Engineers, BAM has developed the foundation design to the extent that the amount of steel piles having to be produced is now 1,500 tonnes less than what it was at tender stage. Furthermore, all of the piles will be transported directly to the site utilising ships as opposed to road haulage, keeping its carbon footprint down. For concrete abutments and piers, low carbon concrete will be used, utilising GGBS in the mix. For the superstructure, BAM have selected a specialist steel bridge fabricator, Victor Bouygues Steel Construction. All of the steel for the bridge will be low carbon. Victor Bouygues have also achieved a level 5 status on the CO2 performance ladder. This means that for the bridge, it will be fabricated using a supply chain that endeavour to reduce their CO2 emissions consistently. All of this contributes to BAM's CDP status standard. Finally, sustainability does not end with just the bridge. Our focus will also concentrate on the use of a local supply chain, utilisation of site electric vehicles, rainwater harvesting from our site office roofs, along with solar panels for power usage.
Now let's hand over to Max for the latest carbon forecast.
Throughout 2022, we have seen a relatively stable pattern of high pressure with some localised HVO showers resulting in a total of 44,000 tonnes of carbon emissions recorded across the UK and Ireland division. That's equivalent to the annual emissions of 5,500 households. The split of emissions across the segments shows that the civil engineering activities contribute the most to our footprint, with key emission hotspots arising from specific projects including HS2, Brisbane Metro, Sky Studios, Co-op Live and the new Children's Hospital. Whilst HS2 continues to be the dominant emission source, its emissions have been greatly reduced thanks to the optimisation of on-site earthworks activities and the deployment of hybrid excavators and generators. They have also taken advantage of renewables, having deployed many tens of solar-powered equipment such as solar generators, tower lights, environmental monitoring stations, and CCTV. Overall, the HVO showers have accumulated to a total of 2.73 million litres for the full year 2022 and have contributed to a reduction of 7 kilotonnes of carbon emissions. Put another way, that's the same as the reduction of 5 million HGV equivalent miles. Activities from the ventures segment also accounted for a noticeable amount of emissions, predominantly arising from staff transport and the operation of plant depots. Electric and hybrid vehicles continue to arrive on a persistent low emission front, with 608 now being used across the division, representing 25% of the entire company car fleet. BAM Ireland recently updated their company car policy, removing petrol and diesel only vehicles. This means that all colleagues across UK and Ireland can now only order a hybrid or full electric vehicle, which is a great step in the right direction and means we're on track towards fully eliminating petrol and diesel only vehicles by 2026. The amount of electric vehicle charging stations has also increased dramatically in recent years, with 38,000 public recharge points peppered across the country. In addition to this, BAM is making a concerted effort to make more charge points available at our offices and projects, enabling everyone to recharge more easily. Driving an electric car versus a combustion engine has on average 65% lower emissions per mile, and with the UK grid transitioning further to renewables, this will only improve. Now we are in 2023, we expect carbon emissions to stay relatively consistent with those seen in 2022, but remain on track to meet our long-term carbon reduction targets. That's all for now. Back to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Max. So that's all for this episode of Carbon Focus. Thanks for watching and see you again on the next edition.